Please welcome the following panelists to stage. Maarten Henskens from Astar, Alberto Viera from Moonbeam, and the moderator will be Natalie from Parity Technologies. Welcome.
Cool, thank you very much for the intro. My name is Natalie. I work at Parity in product marketing, and in this fireside chat we wanted to speak about DeFi, Dapps, and how to build on the Parachain platforms. And as modularity is quite a big topic in the Web3 space, also deep dive a little bit into the composable Blockspace ecosystem provided by Polkadot. Can everyone hear me okay, by the way? Is it better like this? Yeah, I hear. Okay, good. Perfect. So, so at product marketing, the first kind of projects I work on were XCM and system parachain. So the topic of composability is quite close to my heart, and I'm very happy to have this chat with these two great guests. I thought before we jump into each of your projects, we could start a little bit on a high level because we're in the starter space. So start on a high level, and you've both been with Polkadot for quite a while. So maybe one of you could introduce Polkadot, what makes the composable Polkadot Blockspace ecosystem special, and then we dive into your projects.
All right, I'll take it. Thanks for attending, everyone. So, when you think about Polkadot, the first thing that comes to mind is the terminology heterogeneous sharding, right? What does that mean? That means that Polkadot is a blockchain that can accommodate many different kind of blockchains that each can do very different things as long as you follow some rules, right? Some basic rules. If you give me apple, oranges, and juice, you can do whatever you want. And then as long as you give me that, you're welcome into the Polkadot security umbrella, right? That is very different from other sharding technologies in which each shard is exactly the same. So you cannot really do like app-specific blockchains that are doing something very, very good. One of the drawbacks of the current Polkadot model, and that's why we're moving to a newer model, is that even if parachains like Moonbeam or Astar are using they're not using any of the block space, you're still actually using resources on the relay chain on Polkadot, right? So if Moonbeam produces a block that no one sent a transaction, not a single person, there's still a sort of a thing going on between Moonbeam and Polkadot where Moonbeam sends that block, Polkadot has to receive it, has to do all the work of validating. And if you think about it, that's for nothing, right? And so Polkadot is moving into a new model where it's like a per block space execution in which if Moonbeam has nothing, maybe just don't need to talk to Polkadot, but it has a ton of things. It's not limited to the current model, which you only have a specific throughput, right? So if you need more, you can get more. If you don't have nothing, you basically don't do nothing. So I would say probably that's a pretty good high-level understanding of like the current Polkadot situation and how parachains can adapt into this thing. Maarten, I don't know if you have anything to add.
No, only thing I'd like to add is how Polkadot itself reinvented himself with the new strategy that's coming up. And it not only will give more value for the parachains, but also for the value for DOT that most people care about. And for us, from Astar, why we chose Polkadot was from the customizable framework as substrate. And it's not easy in the beginning, but certain things has changed a lot. And I know that Parity is currently working on those templates where you can easily spin up a substrate blockchain, connect it to Polkadot if you want. And that makes it so much easier for new blockchains to develop and as well to be connected into Polkadot. And of course, the main thing what makes it as well so excited is the XCM part, where we as a parachain can talk with all those other blockchains connected to the relay chain. And I think that alone is like a very great power that Polkadot has.
Yeah, and to add something there, a lot of people ask like, what is the difference between XCM and like interoperability in general, right? And the main difference is that with XCM, all the parachain teams like Moonbeam, Astar, we're already trusting Polkadot for security, right? And so XCM uses that assumption to basically help interoperate between these blockchains. While when you're using, for example, Moonbeam to communicate to Ethereum via Axelar, Wormhole, whatever bridge, you're trusting a third party. So you're trusting three different consensus have to trust each other. While if Moonbeam sends an XCM to Astar, right? I mean, Moonbeam only cares that something happened on Moonbeam and it's hoping for the best on Astar, and so Astar should execute that XCM. But at the end of the day, we don't have to trust each other, right? I mean, because we already trust Polkadot, and so that is the common point of origin. So I know that's a lot to digest, but just trying to set the tone because Polkadot offers a lot of great things like heterogeneous sharding. We're moving towards a block-space world, which is really exciting because it could help scalability quite a lot. And then interoperability, it's at its core, so that you can create an ecosystem of blockchains that can natively interact. So,
great, thank you. And if we move one step further down the value chain and speak about the parachains, maybe you want to give an intro to people who might just explore the Polkadot ecosystem, what your own projects do, and also how the parachain architecture fits into the rest.
From Astar, we are a multi-virtual machine environment for smart contracts, meaning that we do not only support the EVM side for the builders using Solidity or Viper or any other related language, but we also support the Ink smart contracts. The Ink smart contracts is currently being live for half a year now on our Parachain. It's still very early stage, but we created great toolings for the developers to use Ink smart contracts. And at the same time, we also created the XVM. This is a cross-virtual machine, meaning that Ink smart contracts can directly being interruptible with Solidity smart contracts, creating like dApps being built on the EVM side, but at the same time they can add a module on the Ink smart contracts and plug it into their EVM dApp if they want. That's what we are offering. At the moment, we are also making sure that there is like the pre-compose on the EVM for using XCM as well for the Ink, that every dApp that is building on one of our environments can directly communicate with the parachains that are connected to Astar.
Yeah, on the Moonbeam side, it's also a smart contract platform, but it's a bit more specific, right? So instead of supporting both environments, like Maarten was saying, Moonbeam's entire focus is on the EVM environment. And it's a different scope because we make design decisions for good and bad, just to make sure that we are as Ethereum compatible as possible, right? So for example, Moonbeam uses Ethereum style accounts. If you've ever used Moonbeam, that is something that is very unique to Moonbeam initially. I think other parachains are moving to this model now. So instead of supporting both sort of VMs and try to sort of couple them and support both worlds, that has drawbacks. It has benefits for sure, but that has also drawbacks. And so we're catering Ethereum developers 100%, and we're committed to providing like the most frictionless EVM compatible environment on Polkadot. Like I said, I mean, basically the drawback is that we don't support Ink and the WASM EVM, but that ensures us that we offer sort of like unmatched EVM compatibility. So.
And is there anything specific about DeFi that you want the audience to know that you're offering or that makes Astar and Moonbeam special for builders?
We want to make it special for builders. And I think recently me and Alberto were like a judge in Paris hackathon, where there were like a lot of applications, but we were missing the innovation part of why not use XCM in your dApp. It's just you create something on let's say Moonbeam or Astar, but you stay there. There's nothing that really showcase I'm building on Polkadot. And I think that's what we are missing in latest hackathons. But now where there's some more documentation there as well, and seeing more hackathons that are focusing. The latest one from Angel Hack had a track that was only focusing on XCM, which was exciting, but also new and very challenging for builders coming in. So there was like an entry barrier for them to really use it. But I think that's the Parachain teams then to deliver on documentation, on templates, and see what's possible. And then the builders need to take this and create something that really showcase what the power is of Polkadot, and not just what's the power of that particular smart contract language. So that's what we really try to push more.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of the projects that have, most famous in the DeFi world in both chains are typical sort of like projects that exist in other ecosystems, right? And if we want to truly make sort of DeFi applications unique in Polkadot, we got to exploit, in the good sense, what Polkadot offers, right? I also always put this example. Like, imagine you are in StellaSwap or BeamSwap, which are one of the most like famous DeFi dexes in Moonbeam. But then you're in the interface and you are offered like a little widget says automate this action powered by Oak Network, right? And that it starts an XCM integration or interaction with Oak Network, which provide automation services in a decentralized way, so that, for example, the act of claiming your rewards and automatically putting them into a liquidity pool, you don't have to do it every so often manually, right? So my thoughts is that we got to stop thinking about just building the same fork and just deploying it there, but also provide value to the users, exploiting in the good way once again the benefits that XCM offers. The problem, in my opinion, is that right now the tooling is not there yet, and I think that as an ecosystem, we got to go towards making sure that Ethereum developers or developers in general don't really have to sort of like, okay, I want to use Oak. Okay, so how do I build an XCM message? Because they're just going to move away. It's really complicated. I've been dealing with XCM for a year and a half, and I can tell you it's super complicated, right? And so, but think about it, right? Think how unique this is to Polkadot. You have parachains that are offering services in a decentralized and trustless way, and we're not still reaping the benefits of it. But when we do, that's going to unlock the true potential of Polkadot. Right now, Moonbeam and Astar are just smart contract parachains specific to Polkadot, but we're not there yet and fully benefiting from XCM, besides the typical token transfers that every DeFi DEX supports, like DOT and everything. But to me, that's boring. Like, that's done everywhere, right? That's not unique to Polkadot. And so that's where we have to aim. Like, we got to go towards making sure that the app-specific blockchains in Polkadot can provide value to the projects that are built in parachains like us. So.
Yeah, totally. I think we did have a look at the numbers once and also analyze, because one of the things that make XCM unique is that you can do the non-token transfers and communication, and I think it's something like 90% or so is still token transfers, but the 10% they're growing. So we need to get there.
Yeah, and I just to give some insights, right? I mean, we launched something called Moonbeam Routed Liquidity probably a month ago, maybe, and that it's using like token transfers to the next level, because, for example, it is using remote EVM calls via XCM. I'm going to talk about that in an hour or so in the space over there in the corner, and that it's like using actual XCM like use cases that it's not possible everywhere else, right? So if you want to join that, I invite you to the talk. But there are other cool things happening. Like, for example, Centrifuge is also working with Moonbeam on providing some sort of like bridging strategy for their connectors and things like that. That for me is where true value lies, right? And also, for example, side highs, prediction markets. How many projects need prediction markets? A lot, right? And they have to rely on like pseudo-anonymous solutions to like provide randomness or predictions and things like that. We need to be able to do these XCM integrations in an easy way so that projects can tap into this use cases. So.
And do you think that there is anything missing from the functionality, or is it just the adoption that you would say is lacking? Are we there already? Is everything fast enough, or do we still have a way to go on the tech perspective as well?
Well, let's see, adoption, but also what Alberto was saying, like the toolings also missing. And it's up to the parachains, to teams to deliver on those toolings, because we are targeting the developers and the builders. So we really need to have those toolings in place to make those applications work and to make them deliver on this new vision that we have in our mind. So, but that's the, and like Alberto was saying as well, like XCM is really not that attractive if you go in there for the first time. It's so complicated, there's so many steps. And if you just look at, if you send them a call data of how, for instance, like an HRMP channel is open, they're like, okay, or going from Asset Hub to you, if you look at the code, it's not easy to understand. You need to really go step by step and learn step by step. And it has an entry barrier, but with the right toolings and a good UI UX for them to work on, like, let's say, click and drop, it will make so much easier. But we aren't there at the moment. It's not on the tech side, it's more on the tooling side.
Yeah, I agree. And like, think about it, right? We're moving towards a world in Polkadot that will rely more on XCM on a daily basis. You have the focus on Asset Hub for like USDC, USDT. You have now the Bridge Hub, right? And that means that XCM is going to be part of the developer's life in every single thing they want to do if they want to do assets or interoperability, right? So if it's a headache to use XCM, you're going to drive developers away. And so, for example, like in my talk, I'm going to talk about how to do an XCM transact, and it's just like so many steps. While, for example, on Ethereum, if you want to use Axelar, they have an SDK, which is like, for example, axelar.send. That's it. It's magic, right? And so that is where, as an ecosystem, I don't think necessarily the responsibility of the parachains. I think it's like generally a responsibility of the ecosystem because, for example, a lot of these tools are shared among teams. The XCM palette, for example, everyone uses it. And so I think there has to be tooling developed so that it is as easy as to say XCM transact and you have something built on the back end or the back of the code that is doing all these complicated things for the developers so the developers can focus on the actual flows. Right now, for example, for MRL, we had to work so hard with a team called Carrier just to explain them the flow, explain them the weights, explain them how the fees worked, right? It was such a headache just to be able to deliver one product, right? And it was not a straightforward product, but it was not complicated, right? Imagine if we scale that when now you have to also use the bridge hub and you have to move to another consensus. It's just thinking about it makes me realize that we're not there yet, but we're moving towards that direction. So I think that part has to develop as well so that if we're going to move towards a world in which XCM is going to be there in every interaction that we do, it's important that the tooling also provides a friendly environment to do so, right? So.
And so to go back to the topic, I think that was a great detour. But would you, so we touched upon now the composability aspect, and if you compared Polkadot's composability functionality, how would you say is it special, and what can be used from dapp builders? I think specifically because that's also part of the topic. With respect to cross-chain. So you touch upon system parachains, the bridge hub, and I think that would be quite a good umbrella also for starters to break down what is possible with XCM on Polkadot and what makes it special.
I can start. I think the main use case of XCM and Blockspace will be app chains, right? I mean, if you think about it, L2s, which is the hot thing right now, are all the same. They're not really optimized to do something very well. They're just the same environment, usually mirrored here and there, right? The main benefit of Polkadot is that it's heterogeneous sharding, right? You can create, I always do this really bad example, like I could create a blockchain just to upload pictures of my cats. I could. I mean, nothing is stopping me to do so. It would be a really terrible blockchain, but I could. And if I connect to Polkadot, I'm going to have Polkadot's, huge security model, right? In Cosmos, you cannot do that because Tendermint needs you to create economic incentives to secure a blockchain about cats. That's not really feasible. And so if we move to a world that Blockspace become the core focus of the ecosystem, we're going to see app chains that are going to be able to do something very specific, very good. And then XCM is going to be at the core so that teams like, teams building on parachains like us, or like the ones that we work for, can benefit from these app-specific blockchains, right? I think that's crucial because that is what, like I said again, back then, that's the core offering of Polkadot, right? Creating heterogeneous shards. Blockspace is crucial as well to be able to scale. If there's a block in which Moonbeam has a gazillion transactions, that you just get a bunch of cores to be able to execute them, and then maybe those transactions will interact with an app chain that is for uploading pictures of cats, and then that does that, and then some other things, right? There has to be a balance, right? There has to be a way for us to have app chains that are providing something useful for the ecosystem, and then apps built on smart contract platforms like Moonbeam and Astar to reap the benefits of that, right? So I think that's going to be a core component when Polkadot moves towards this Blockspace-based model. So and with XCM.
I have nothing really more to add to what Alberto was saying here. I think this event alone shows what's possible in the next coming of months, maybe years. The talk of WAP, listening to Snowbridge coming. Today as well, USDC being available on the Asset Hub. Then I know as well the partnership now with forgot Frequency that is coming. So there's more adoption, more things are coming as well. And I think we just need to be very excited about 2024 because there will be a lot of things coming. It's regarding to this topic regarding DeFi, it's still very difficult in bear market to really do things in DeFi or to get traction in DeFi. People are still like waiting and like, okay, I want to be safe now and not invent something or let users use something completely new. So a lot of things will happen in 2024 when the market is getting more and more traction and things are getting delivered as well on Polkadot, on the Parachains, more app chains coming in. yeah, I'm very excited about what will be coming as well. And later on, I had a talk with the person who's now building out the decks as well, who's coming on Kusama in the next one-time upgrade on the Asset Hub. I think this will also open maybe some opportunities there. Yeah, I have high hopes for 2024, and I think listening to all conversations here, I think everybody should be excited about what's coming now, and not focusing on what do we have now, because it's difficult now, but everybody is facing difficulties now. But I think what's coming, really, yeah, I'm very excited about this.
That's cool. Yeah, thank you. That was a good sales pitch. So in terms of examples, you touched upon a few. What would be your, let's say, favorite examples, kind of top 3 or so from maybe an application standpoint? And then later we can focus on a few like DeFi specific ones that are using XCM or cross-chain functionality.
I can start with Astar itself. So we have like a portal where people can use dapp staking. And currently we are in the final stage of having that oak integration as well. So users can automatically claim for their rewards and compound them into dapp staking. Makes them so much easier. And at the same time, use oak automation. And so we don't need to build those kind of automations because our partner will build this out and the users can use it by paying them a fee and get traction in their services. And our users are very happy that they don't need to claim every couple of months or every couple of weeks to get their rewards. Everything is automated, and I think that's something I'm very excited about what will be coming up for us, yes.
Yeah, I think from a Moonbeam perspective, I've been very bullish on the idea of remote origins, computed origins, has many names. I gave a talk at the Coded about that. In my presentation in whatever time, it's 40 minutes or so, we'll touch on that as well. This particular example is about MRL, what I mentioned before, like Moonbeam routed liquidity. So normally what happens is that when you bring liquidity, right now you can bring liquidity to Hydra DX. When you are bringing it into Hydra, that is using Wormhole as a first sort of transport layer, and then XCM as a transport layer on the second part. That part is boring because it's token transfers, right? I mean, that's the boring side of things. But when you're bringing liquidity out, you're actually using an account that you have on Moonbeam that you control from Hydra DX, and that's all powered by XCM. So a user that wants to bring their DAI liquidity out, they will actually use this account that they control on Moonbeam, and they only control it via XCM. They are funding that account with those DAIs. And then in another XCM message, you're actually saying, hey, account, please interact with the Wormhole contracts to take my liquidity out to Ethereum, right? So I mean, think what this means. It means that you're able to, from Hydra DX, you don't have to like go change your wallet to Moonbeam, do this. You're doing that already abstracted thanks to the power of XCM. It's all completely decentralized because it's under XCM and Polkadot. And so I'm very keen on that sort of solution because it highlights the power of like XCM and Polkadot, providing a very simple one-click solution for users and doing multiple hops to other ecosystems, right? And so check it out if you want to learn more. I'll be around. But you know, we have other examples like that, right? I mean, like imagine a user in Polkadot wants to use Uniswap v3 on Moonbeam. They can do it. Like if someone built an interface, they can, from Polkadot, they could do everything without having to move to Moonbeam, right? Or Astar or whatever Parachain. So I think these things are really powerful. And with the Oak example, that it's also like doable with Oak, right? So I think these kind of examples where you're exploiting, in a good sense, XCM without actually showing the user all the complicated things that are happening underneath, it's like the prime example of like how XCM can be leveraged for this kind of use cases.
Thank you. And if there are builders in the audience or listening in, so where would you say are kind of the entry levels or entry points for builders if they want to build on Astar or Moonbeam? What are the options and where can they reach out?
Well, the main place is the documentation, of course, where people or the builders can look into what they can do and what they can build as well. Another thing that I'll always recommend to new people coming into Polkadot is join a Polkadot-sponsored hackathon, because you will get so much support from mentors, from people inside Parity, and can really give you the support that you need instead of figure it out yourself. It's so much easier in a hackathon, and you can even win a prize if you have like a great idea that you can deliver. So I would say go to documentations, join hackathons, look at workshops that are as well going out. So that should be my advice for them.
And I agree with Maarten. I think, especially on the hackathon things, I think, Polkadot hackathons provide like all the Parachain teams are supporting it usually, and so you'll find support from all the different teams. Also, ask around like what is a cool thing I could build using XCM and like an app, a blockchain like Astar or like Moonbeam. Like what cool use case I could do, right? And then start understanding how you can use XCM for that use case, right? We do have a lot of documentation on XCM on the Moonbeam doc side on how you can use it and so on. And we also offer the possibility of using XCM from like Solidity and like, smart contracts, EVM smart contracts. So, but yeah, I agree on Maarten's points, to be honest. I think they're great.
Nice, thank you. Before we go to questions, are there any closing remarks, anything you want to still share before we hand over to the audience?
I would just say enjoy those 2 days here at Sub0. You are here with dev mindset, otherwise you will not be here at Sub0. Listen and talk with everybody here and be excited about what's coming and what everybody is building as well, and try to figure out like where you can support, what you can do as well to work together. I think Polkadot itself has like a great, how do I say it, a great track record of parachains and teams working together. You can't find it nowhere else. I think that's the power of Polkadot, because we are working together, because we want to create something new, we want to be innovative, we want to use the technology, we want to leverage the technology as well. So I would say just enjoy those 2 days and just talk with a lot of people here. And I think you can, learn a lot. And even for me, I'm still learning here that we talk that I'm in. So,
yeah, I agree. I think one thing that I would add there is that don't be afraid of asking questions, right? I mean, a lot of the tech that we're like building on top of is not simple, right? So you're like, Jesus, I see Alberto over there. Should I approach him? I mean, no. I mean, feel free to do so. I mean, for me, it's really exciting when someone asks me a question about the technology that I've worked so hard on. It's like, oh my, this guy's actually interested. Yeah, let's talk about it, right? So. It's just don't be afraid of asking questions. Like Maarten said, we're going to be here like today, tomorrow. There's other talks that are super interesting. So just be curious, right? Just make sure that you go find the person that you want to talk to, ask him a question, be curious about the technology and experiment as well, right? We have testnets. They're free to play with, and so just experiment and see what happens, right? We have a lot of people in Discord that ask questions about how can they do something on XCM, and we try to help them because we understand it's not straightforward, and play around with the testnet. They should check if your experiment is working, right? So just that.
Love it. Cool. I think we have time for one or two questions. I don't think we have an extra mic, or do we? Perfect. Then we can hand it out. Any questions?
Later outside, I think.
Yeah, and it's warm. But you know who to reach out to. Cool, so thanks a lot. And thanks a lot for the time.
Thank you very
everyone.
much. Analysts, thank you very much.